Welcome to Algebra 1. We're going to talk about flipping the classroom and exactly what that is and the expectations that go along with that. So first of all, you should have a note sheet. This is what our note sheets will often look like. I'll give them to you for every section so that you can go ahead and fill them out. There's some expectations. First of all, some people have a tendency to not listen and just watch. I say super important things while I am talking. So make sure you listen, bring headphones or put it on your home computer or whatever. So the second thing is each one of these things is laid out so that there's space for you to fill things in. If you forget your sheet and need to write it on paper, none of that's really a big deal. I just want to make sure that you get these things. If I talk too quickly, you've got a pause button. You can stop. You can rewind and go back. You can also go back a week later if we're going to have a quiz or something, and you could rewatch it and make sure, and you might be like, oh, I totally get it now. So you've got options. They're always available. They'll be out there on Google Classroom for you so you can find those things. So first of all, flipping is when we switch our traditional classroom. Your classwork becomes your homework and your homework becomes your classwork. So we switch. It's really a great thing because in class, instead of me talking, and then you go home and try to work, maybe you get it, maybe you don't. Instead, what happens is I go home, you go home, and I talk. When you come to class, you get to work on problems. You get to ask me questions. I'm standing right here. Lots of times parents say, I don't know how to help my child with their math stuff. And I say, well, if you watch it with them, they can come in and ask those questions, or maybe you'll get it if you watch it with them. So those are all options for you. So here's what it looks like during class time. We're going to discuss the lesson. You've already watched it. I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you come to class prepared. One part of that is watching the lesson so you know what we're talking about. If you come to class and you haven't watched it, automatically you are one step behind and you are playing catch up. And that's not a good feeling to have. That can change on any given day. If you didn't watch it today, you can always be caught up for tomorrow. So it's not a hole that you've dug yourself into. We're also going to do examples together because sometimes you need some time to think about it, do some examples, use that as a guide for others. We have time in class to work on the assignment. So I'm going to say after we talk for a little bit, do some examples, talk about that lesson, I'm going to say, okay, your assignment today is page 6, numbers 1 through 58, and you'll have time in class to work on those. And last but not least, if you finish during class time, you'll have time to check. I should see if you can sneak in here. You'll have time to ask questions. You'll have time to check your work if you finish it, and you will have time on some occasions to work on something else. Maybe you've got a outline for history or something like that happening. So you will have time to work on other things if you finish your algebra. Algebra is first priority in algebra class. So don't be studying for Spanish instead of working on your algebra work. Plus, I'm here to answer your questions. Isn't that the way to go? We can check before you walk out, and you already know you've got 100% on that assignment. It's not due till tomorrow, but you're done, and it's all correct. So scooch that extra check mark in there. Homework. So when you go home, this is what you're going to need to do. The first thing is watch the video lessons. I try to keep them less than 20 minutes. I think in chapter 1, the longest one is 15. The shortest one is like 8. So I'm not going to take up hours and hours of your time, but it's a lesson. It's what we would do in class, quite honestly. And a lot of people have said that they have to stop. I do go quicker than I would in class. So you're going to need to use that pause button. You're also going to fill out a note sheet. Often looks a lot like this one. I give you the framework and you put the information in there. You will have that if you forget it. Write it on separate paper. Not a big deal. This one's a big one. Complete the lesson summary and the practice problem. At the end of every section of notes, there are 2 boxes, much like the bottom of this one. In the lesson summary, I'm going to ask you some kind of question, write an example, what's the difference between these things. I'm expecting to see an answer. Don't write the question, write the answer. The practice problem, I give you a problem, to look at, to run through, go back and look at an example, write out the problem and the work. Problem and work. So that's going to be part of what I look at. My board's crazy. At what I look at every day. So you may have some problems left over from class. If you do, that's still your responsibility. I try to give you as much time as possible in class to work and ask questions, but maybe you got a couple you need to finish up. And last but not least, homework will include reviewing, studying for quizzes or tests, working on a worksheet, rewatching a lesson, going through some problems that we skipped in the notes. All of those things would be part of what you need to do to be prepared for class. So that's what you do. You watch the lesson. In class, we do the work. It's opposite of what you usually think of. And I wanted to make sure I mentioned student responsibilities. First of all, please watch your notes. They will be checked daily. So if I say on Thursday, we're going to check, I'm going to go around and talk about section 02, and you need to come to class with section 02 notes ready to roll. So they will be checked. I don't check them early. Sometimes people get ahead. And if that's the case, I can always check them earlier than when they're due. But the date that I say we're going to talk about them, the date from the calendar, is when you need to have those ready, even if you're absent. So this is part of your responsibility. Please be organized. In other words, you are going to know when everything needs to be ready. So either rewatch, get ahead, stay on schedule. The calendar will have all of the dates filled out. Google Classroom will have everything posted by date. So you will know when things need to be done. So be organized. Use a planner, use Google Classroom, use a piece of paper, whatever works best for you. Your responsibility is also to complete your work or problems, whether you finish them in class and have them checked, or you need to take a couple home. You need to ask questions, those kinds of things. And last but not least, student responsibilities include participate in class. Ask questions, answer questions, work with a partner if that's what we're doing that day. It's for your help and your being able to understand and do these problems. So both important things. So last but not least, the bottom of the page, all of them will look like this. Usually they say practice problem and lesson summary, but I put down this time questions or concerns, either from you or from your parent. Is there anything, or thoughts in general? Questions or concerns or thoughts. If there's anything that seems troubling to you from flipping our classroom, please let me know, or anything that seems interesting or exciting or concerning. And I would like to have a parent or guardian signature in that other box, just so that I know that they've seen this, they understand it, they've got any questions. Include an email if they want me to email them back. But I want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on with our flipped Algebra 1 classroom. That is it for our first practice lesson. Have a great day. We'll see you next time, and have fun.